It's all happening February 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. The 2019 Banger Music Awards. Guest presenters K-Rock and Sin, Sammy Schmidt, Wes Highland, Derek Shelmerdine, Kevin Holly, Alien Stone, and Motown Vinny, just to name a few. Music by The Dark Clouds, New Day Dawn, Folsom, Subway, and many others. The 2019 Banger Music Awards. For more information, go to our website, www.jlebang.com. It'll be a night to remember. February 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern on these great stations. The 2019 Banger Music Awards. Be there. It'll be epic. The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Scheduled programming to bring you a show on the edge, broadcasting worldwide and out to the greater universe. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. Welcome to hour 322. Pythagoras once said, all things are numbers. And well, we're going to be looking into the number 322, the number of the skull and bones.
And that is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for skull and bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
A not-so-secret society of elite people that have attended Yale University. They perform occult rituals that hold great meaning to the participants. And for those of you who do not understand what the word occult means, it simply means hidden. It doesn't mean evil, it doesn't mean wicked, it doesn't mean magic, any of that stuff. It means hidden.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America?
They've had some very interesting members throughout the years. Let me give you a list of some of the most prominent members to be initiated into the Skull and Bones. We have William Howard Taft, our 27th president. Now that big boy, he was a little chunky there in the middle, he was known by his college buddies as the Big Lub and was the first ever Skull and Bonesman to ever reach the Oval Office. Mr. Taft would probably have had a pretty easy time getting in, too, because his father, the one-time Attorney General, Alphonso Taft, co-founded Skull and Bones as a Yale student in 1832. Another very prominent member of the Skull and Bones, you'll know the name, and that would be Prescott Bush. He was from the class of 1916. Now, let me tell you about this bonesman in particular.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Prescott Bush was a director and a shareholder, this bonesman, of the company that profited from their involvement with the financial backers of Nazi Germany. I don't know how many of you knew that. A firm of which Prescott Bush was the director was involved in the financial architects of Nazism. His business dealings, which continued until his company's assets were seized in 1942 under the Trade and the Enemy Act, has led more than 60 years of civil action for damages being brought in Germany against the Bush family by 2 slave laborers at Auschwitz. The evidence has also prompted one former U.S. Nazi war criminal prosecutor to argue that the late senator's actions should have been grounds for prosecution for giving aid and comfort to the enemy. Now, this is Prescott Bush's company. Let's continue. Even after America had entered the war and when there was already significant information about the Nazis' plans and policies, he worked for and profited from companies closely involved with the very German businesses that financed Hitler's rise to power. It has also been suggested that the money he made from these dealings helped establish the Bush family fortune to set up its political dynasty. While there is no suggestion that Prescott Bush was sympathetic to the Nazi cause publicly, the documents reveal that the firm he worked for, Brown Brothers Harriman, acted as a U.S. base for the German industrialist Fritz Thyssen, who helped finance Hitler in the 1930s, an Austrian that became the leader of Germany. Bush was the director of the New York-based Union Bank Corporation that represented Thyssen's U.S. interest, and he continued to work for the bank after America entered the war. Bush was also on the board of at least one of the companies that formed part of a multinational network of front companies to allow Thyssen to move assets around the world. Because Bush wasn't sympathetic at all to Nazism, not at all. Even though he helped set up a bunch of front companies to help that guy make some money, so he could make some money. More profiteering. More tantalizing are the Bush's links to the Consolidated Silesian Steel Company, based in mineral-rich Silesia on the German-Polish border. Interesting. Are you learning something, ladies and gentlemen? Did you know this history? Let's continue. Now, during the war, the company made use of Nazi slave labor from the concentration camps, including Auschwitz. The Harriman papers in the Library of Congress show that Prescott Bush was a director and shareholder of a number of companies involved with Thyssen. Second set of papers, which are in the National Archives, and hopefully Sandy Burglar didn't steal those, are contained in vesting order number 248, which records the seizure of the company's assets. What these files show is that on October 20th, 1942, the alien property custodian seized the assets of the UBC, of which Prescott Bush was the director. Now, having gone through the books of the bank, further seizures were made against 2 affiliates, the Holland American Trading Corporation and the Seamless Steel Equipment Corporation. By November, the Silesian American Company, another of Prescott Bush's ventures, also had been seized. The third set of documents, also at the National Archives, are contained in the files on I.G. Farben, who was prosecuted for war crimes. A report issued by the Office of Alien Property Custodian in 1942 stated of the companies that since 1939, these steel and mining properties have been in possession of and have been operating by the German government and have undoubtedly been of considerable assistance to that country's war effort. And that's just a little bit of the history of Mr. Prescott Bush, the skull and bonesman, who happened to be a senator, who gained great financial wealth from having these connections and ties that profited off the Nazi war machine. Now another famous bonesman you might know, and that's Robert Levett. He was from the class of 1918, Harry Truman's Secretary of War and the man whom many have called the architect of the Cold War. Man, these bonesmen just get involved in all kinds of stuff that really isn't that great for America, isn't it? Now, he was the consummate bonesman insider. Along with sharing a membership timeline with Prescott Bush, Levett was also friendly with fellow bonesman Harry Holster Bundy, who served with Levett in Truman's war cabinet and was the father of future bonesman McGeorge Bundy. Now, McGeorge Bundy, class of 1947, that bonesman, before becoming one of JFK's wise men, and we'll hear from President JFK a little later. Bundy was another bonesman with a long family lineage of getting tapped for the society. Because the Society of Skull and Bones, that 322, we'll get into the numerology of it a little later on. But that 322 Skull and Bones Society likes to keep things in the family, because it's really the genealogy that they're looking for, the clique, the people that are the elite of the elite. You and I, we could never, even if we went to Yale, even if we were lucky to go to Yale, you and I who have no family lineage probably wouldn't stand a chance of getting into that Skull and Bones to find out anything about what their secret rituals are. Now, another super famous bonesman that we all know about was the second ever Skull and Bonesman to be elected to president, and that's George Herbert Walker Bush.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
He was from the class of 1948. President 41 was also a fighter pilot in World War II, an ambassador to Red China, and the director of the CIA. Now, before I go on, I just want you to understand, to grasp the concept that these people have been in a great deal of organizations, which means they had influence over these organizations. Another big famous bonesman you might know, John F. Kerry, class of 1966.
Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions.
Was only a college junior when he was tapped as a bonesman after a childhood spent abroad with his diplomatic father. Kerry's period of membership as an on-campus bonesman just missed intersecting with the man he would challenge for the presidency in 2004, and that was George W. Bush, the nuclear. He's from the class of 1968.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America?
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
George W. ended up as the third bonesman to occupy the White House. Now, Austin Goldsby is a more recent graduate and bonesman. He comes from the class of 1991. Goonsby represented the newest generation of bonesmen on this list.